So get comfy. We're going to have a chat about my journey. I've made over $25 million from my online business, and I will be the first to tell you there was a price of my success. And I want to get into that in this video because you can make this type of money, and there are very specific things I would have done differently. And the reason I say there was a high price to my success is because I became a workaholic. I had very strained relationships. In fact, I had a divorce. So I ended my marriage and I had a health crisis where last year I developed a tumor in my left breast, which led to a mastectomy. So I'm here telling you on the other side of it that there are 6 things I'm going to share with you in this video that I did right, that I want you to take. I want you to run and go as far as you want to go and further. And there are 6 things I did wrong that I would change, I should say. 6 things I would change and I would do differently if I was sitting here advising you as your business advisor saying, these are the things I want you to change. So you have a different journey than mine. Let's get into it. I want to first say the benefits, right? So the benefits of building this business is that I now have a personal brand that is known in the industry. I get opportunities all the time because I invested in being the face of my brand. I invested in having a framework that was reliable and repeatable. I was able to build an email list that was very niche. And so I had advertisers come to me and would pay $7,000 just to advertise to my list. And at its peak, I had over 300,000 email subscribers. And I also built confidence in that when I say I'm going to do something, I know I can do it. So I now have the confidence that I can create whatever, I can create anything. And I built skills. So I'm going to get into the key skills that I built in this journey that I can cash in on for as long as I want, that are still relevant in today's market and will always be relevant. For the 6 things that I did right, I first started with a premium offer. I had one offer, and it was a signature program called Course from Scratch. And I say that it was premium because it was around $2,000. So, because it was $2,000 and I started at mid ticket, I was able to accumulate a lot more capital than other people who are starting with low ticket offers. So, my $2,000 program was a hybrid course program. So what that means is I pre-recorded the videos, and once someone enrolled in my Course from Scratch program, I would do a monthly live Q&A. So I would answer all of their questions. And then I had a coach who was inside of our community. So we had a live community where you would post your wins, and we had a dedicated question thread where my coach would go in and answer those questions on a 24-hour basis, Monday through Friday. So even though we had over 10,000 people enrolled in Course from Scratch in our live program, even though we had that number of people, every single person felt seen because of the structure I put in place with the question thread, the community, and me doing the live Q&A. Another thing we did is we had a weekly new student orientation that my coach ran. And that's when we walked you through the program and we helped set you up with an accountability group within the program. So it was a program that was $2,000 and it got people transformation. When people reported their wins from the program, the number one thing they got, which surprised me, was self-acceptance. They learned to own their story and the uniqueness of their journey. The second thing was financial independence. So we've had over a dozen people who have made at least $1 million. We have a couple who have made $10 million or more. I think the most is $40 million. And then we have hundreds of people who have done 5 figures and 6 figures from the program. So it truly transformed people, households, and the community. So it really set the tone. So when you're thinking about starting, I would recommend starting with a premium program, not just low ticket, but also make sure you have a premium program because that's going to position you as a premium personal brand in the market that is known for this one thing. The second thing I did right is that I created a conversion event that was repeatable and scalable. So when I say conversion event, I just mean an event that you can do where people come and they're able to learn about you, learn about your framework, learn about your program, and buy. So my conversion event was a webinar. I had one webinar that I did live every single Wednesday for 2 years straight. So I did that same webinar over 100 times. Now, the power of having a repeatable conversion event, whether it's a masterclass, a webinar, you might be doing discovery calls, That's also a conversion event. But what I did is I chose something where I could do one to many. So I could have 200, 2,000. At my biggest, I think we had 6,000 people on live. And that was the webinar where we generated $1 million in just 2 hours. And it was a higher ticket program. It was an $18,000 program called Course Alchemy. But the power of having that webinar that I repeated was that I was able to track it on a weekly basis. And I created what I call a sales simulator. So this is where you know exactly how much time you're putting in, how much money you're spending for the marketing. So I was running ads. So I would spend money on ads. I would get a new group of leads onto the webinar. I would do the webinar for 2 hours and I would make $10,000, $40,000, $100,000 for some webinars. And I was able to track that and it was predictable. I knew that when I spent $5,000, I would make $20,000 from that webinar. I knew how many people would pay in full. So my average was 75% to 80% of people paying in full. So paying the full $2,000. So I was able to grow my capital and grow my cash flow really quickly. One thing that I want to say is another important thing I did was when I created my offer, I had a very compelling pay in full incentive. So what that means is people have the option to either pay in full, the full 2000, or they can do a payment plan and they can do like 6 payments or 4 payments. Now, what I did is I created a very tasty bonus. So when you pay the full $2,000 up front, I'm going to give you this extra bonus. All right. And let me know if you want me to do a separate video where I break down my offer. Because I would say one thing that I've done really well is coming up with pay in full incentives, coming up with bonuses that really inspire people to enroll and be all in. Because, like I say, when you pay money, you pay attention. So the people who are paying in full, I'm one of these people who pays in full, they pay attention. They show up front row to the class. They're ready to put their all in and get results for themselves. Because of that, we have over 1,000 testimonials from my Course from Scratch program. So I want you to think about what is a repeatable conversion event. Now, for you, it might look like YouTube videos. You're watching this on YouTube. It might be YouTube videos, and then you have a link to a call or a link to your masterclass or a link directly to the checkout page if you've already built up that trust with your audience. So just think about what is something you can do to convert people into your offer. And the key here is that you repeat it. Don't just do it for 2 weeks and be like, oh, it's not working. Let me abort mission and try something different. Why I was able to scale it is because I stuck to it. And I did that webinar. I said, when I do this live webinar every week for a year, I will make $1 million. And I did it in 9 months. And then I continued and I made $1 million over like a 6-month period. In a 2-year period, I was able to make $10 million. And then the following year, I made another $10 million. And it was all because of this webinar practice. So whatever you do, whatever social media platform you're on, if you're doing paid ads, just make sure that you keep repeating whatever that conversion event is. And also let me know if you want me to do a separate video on webinars and master classes. That's one of those skills that I've honed that is going to be useful. And that's like a cash printing machine. And you can use a webinar or a master class to convert into a $2,000 offer. I've also used it for a $5,000 offer, an $18,000 offer, and that led to $65,000 mastermind conversions as well. So let me know if you want me to do a separate video on webinars and master classes and how you can create a really powerful one. Now, the third thing I did right is I built a lean team that relieved me. So when I reached 6-figure months in my business, I remember I had my first 6-figure month and I made $130,000 that month. And it was still just me in the business. So I was doing my weekly webinar. I was scheduling the emails, the marketing emails that would go out to it, and I was running my ads. The beautiful thing is because I was repeating this process week over week, the ads were pretty much on autopilot. My emails were on autopilot, and the webinar, I could do it with my eyes closed. However, I had customer support tickets that were building up because I had so much volume coming into my funnel. I had over, I remember 300 customer support tickets, and it was draining me because I was not put on this planet to respond to customer support tickets. Like, I'm the visionary, I'm the CEO, I'm the message maker. So that was the first hire I made. So with the lean team, you want to ask yourself, where am I feeling bogged down? What is draining my energy? What is not in my strengths zone? And I want you to hire for that first. And usually it's going to be like a $10 per hour activity. So customer support role can be a $10, $20 per hour activity. There are so many different SOPs, standard operating procedures that people can use to be very successful as a customer support agent. So that was the first hire I made. The second hire I made was a coach. So this was someone who could help me take over the new student orientations. They helped me facilitate inside the community and made sure that our students continue to feel seen. So when you are building your team, there is a way to keep it very lean, right? At this time, I think it was maybe $4,000 a month that I was paying my team. And at that time, I was making over $100,000 a month. So there is a world that exists where you are in the creation seat and you have people who are just executing the $10, $20, $30 per hour tasks. So the next thing I did really well, number 4, was that I built a niche email list. So instead of prioritizing becoming mainstream famous on social media, I said, I am going to send people to my one offer. And the only thing they can do is register for my webinar. And the webinar was how to create and launch your online course in 30 days, or how to monetize your expertise and your story in 30 days through an online course. So the email list I built was very niche. And that led to other opportunities. I got $10,000 speaking opportunities that I did just like this for an hour on Zoom for virtual summits because I had built this very niche email list. So that signature offer is really going to be the cornerstone to building you up as the go-to person for that specific solution, that specific story, and that specific audience. And when you are thinking about where to create content, wherever you're creating it, make sure you have a way for people to buy your offer and also to get on your email list, especially in those early days. Because there's going to be a time where you're like, I this month have a goal of making $40,000, and you can do an email campaign sending it to that email list who is very focused on your solution, and you can print money. Now, the fifth thing I did is that I stayed focused on one goal at a time. So, as I was scaling my business, I started getting attention from people in the industry. And so I got inquiries about, can we feature you in this press piece? Can we, but you need to pay us first. You need to get interviewed for 3 hours. We need to fly out and do the story on you. Or can we fly you out for these speaking engagements? I said no to all of those things. I grew what I call your yes to no ratio. So I was like, no, 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 no. If it does not fit this one goal, and my goal at the time was to make 1 million, and then it was to make 10 million from my one funnel, my one offer. But I already had a system that was working. I was running ads to my webinar, and that was it. So I just doubled down on what was working. And then when it was time, I said, I already have the audience, I already have the marketing machine. Now let me add a second offer. And that's when I added my high ticket $18,000 Course Alchemy offer. So when you are in this building phase and you're getting to that one goal, I want you to first identify, what is that goal? Is it to reach $1 million in the next 12 months? Is it to reach $500,000 or 250,000 in the next 12 months? Identify that and say, I'm going to solely be focused on that for the next 12 months. Any of these other distractions that come in, I'm going to say no for this season. After I reach that milestone, then I will be open to those opportunities. So the sixth and final thing that I did right, I mean, I did a lot of other things right, let's be real. However, the sixth thing I want to focus on in this video is that I up-leveled my identity. So when I set that goal to make $1 million, I created a new version of myself, and I called her Seven Figure Danny. And I would ask myself, what would Seven Figure Danny do? She would go to sleep at 10 p.m. every night. Before going to sleep, she would write her 3 priorities for the next day. She would wake up every morning at 6:30. She would go straight to the gym, do her 20 minutes of running, her green smoothie, her affirmations, her meditation. I made that schedule, and I was her. I was her because she had already created the million. So she was already operating like that millionaire. So I up-leveled my identity. Every new season you enter into, up-level your identity and start behaving as that person. And then exercise that yes to no ratio. Start saying no to opportunities that are actually distractions when you are in this season of building. So those are the things that I did right, focusing on one premium signature offer, one funnel, and one conversion event at a time until I reached that one milestone. So those are the 6 things I did right. Now I want to get into what I did wrong. Because as I shared with you, in this process, after I crossed the million, I became a workaholic. I was working like 70-hour weeks, even though I had a team. I ended up getting divorced. I had health issues. So I want to tell you what I would have done differently. So the first is I want you to stick to your vision. So when I came in, I said, I want a simple and scalable and high margin and low hour requirement business. All right. So simple, meaning one offer, one funnel, one conversion event. Scalable, same thing. I have my ads, I had my content, it was scalable. High margins, I didn't have a high payroll. So I had really healthy margins. You know, that one month where I made 130,000, I took home $83,000 that month. And then low hours. I used to just work about 10 less than 10 hours a week because I would do the webinar for a couple hours, I would answer the customer support tickets, the ads were on autopilot, schedule the emails. So I was able to maintain low hours. But then I started doubting myself. So as soon as I crossed the 6 figure month and I made 130K, I started doubting myself. And I said, uh-oh, my nervous system wasn't ready. I said, I have never made millions of dollars before. I don't trust myself to do this. And so that's when I started increasing my expenses. And I invested in 2 masterminds within 2 days. So I invested $30,000 in one mastermind. The next day, I invested $65,000 in another mastermind. Later that year, I invested over $100,000 to work with this coach, which was a huge mistake. So I started doubting myself. At my height, I had a business manager, a business coach, a spiritual advisor, a therapist, and then I had 8 direct reports on my team. So I was so drained and I was getting conflicting messages from all these different people who I deemed as experts. One of the things you're going to do in this process of making the million, the 10 million, whatever you want to make, is that you are going to need to be aware of those patterns that are holding you back. One of my patterns was idolizing other people. So I would see someone who appeared as an authority, and it might have been because I saw them do a speaking engagement or I saw them on ads. I saw that they had 1 million followers and I didn't have 1 million followers. So I would pedestal them. I would put them on a pedestal and therefore make myself less than. And with that, that meant I started outsourcing my decision making. I compromised on my vision of keeping my business as it was. I could have reached that 20 million, maybe not in the 5 years that I did, but it might have been 6 years, but I would have been a lot happier and I would have had more working hours and more freedom in my life. So if you have a pattern of idolizing others, then just be aware of that and make sure you tap in with yourself and write down what is your vision and make sure you stick to that. The second pattern I had was people pleasing. I was incapable of having difficult conversations. And these things, as you know, show up in all aspects of your life. So even in my personal life with my husband at the time, I was unable to have difficult conversations with him. With my family, with my mom, my sister, I was unable to have difficult conversations with my personal friends. So in my business, when hiring these coaches and paying them high 5 figures or 6 figures, I was unable to have difficult conversations because I was a people pleaser and I was afraid of being disliked. So when they needed to be held accountable, when they weren't delivering on if they were a team member on their goals or if they were a coach on what they said they would help me with, I just let it slide. And I would say, oh, I'll just do more. I'll just do more. And so that's what led to me working 80 hours a week when I had a full support system. So, what I want you to do is pay attention to any of these patterns that you're seeing that could be holding you back in your personal life or in your business. It's going to come up, and I want you to be aware of them and make sure that you check them and journal about it. Talk to that version of you and figure out how you can start having difficult conversations because the price of having a difficult conversation is way lower than the price of not having it. So the second thing that I would change is I would know my enough is enough number. When I got into this, I had no idea that I would make $1 million, let alone 10 million, 25 million. Like, what? inconceivable, right? Like we are standing on the shoulders of giants. There are people who came before me that made this reality possible for me, just like there are people for you. And what I did is I went in blind because I had no idea that all of these riches were coming my way. So I want you to stand in the confidence that the future you has already created it. So what plan do they have for their enough is enough number? And when I say enough is enough, I mean enough is enough. So what is enough? Is it $30,000 a month? Is it $50,000 a month? What is that number that you are going to feel confident and feel like, okay, I have an amazing lifestyle, and you're building your business around your life instead of building your life around your business? Like I was just trying to fit your life into the crevices of your business wherever there's space. Figure out your enough is enough number. What is that on a monthly and annual basis? And then the third thing is create a plan for your earnings. So when you make the 50K a month and you're spending, let's say, 10,000 or 20,000 a month, you have $30,000 a month liquid cash. What is that going towards? Maybe 10K of it, you're going to reinvest in the business, reinvest in the marketing, reinvest in coaching. But maybe the other 10K, you're going to invest in whatever investment vehicle you like, whether it's Bitcoin, crypto, or it's the stock market, real estate, if you're already in real estate, investing in other companies. But ask yourself, where is that going to go? Maybe you have a fund for your kids, an educational fund, right? So have a plan for where your earnings are going to go. Write it on a spreadsheet so that you know where to allocate it. And then the advanced level is to automate that. So automate those transfers every month so they are already going somewhere. All right. So the fourth thing I would have done with my team is I would have paid on performance. So when I hired my team, I was really generous with what I paid them. I'm talking about I had people who were based in the Philippines, and I was paying them $3,500 a month for a part-time role, which is wild. Like that is unnecessary. I had people who I was paying $130,000 a year. I had a copywriter, I was paying $10,000 a month. Like I was, and again, it was back to that people pleasing. It was back to me not remembering I'm the authority. I've written so many emails already. For them to just remix those emails and upgrade it, it's not that much. Like it doesn't require that much. And of course, today with all of the AI tools, it's even less of a lift for people. So I want you to think about how you can pay on performance. What this might look like is if you have a copywriter who's writing maybe helping you script your YouTube videos, maybe writing your emails. In the case of emails, maybe they are paid a percentage of the money that your emails make. So when they do a 7-day email campaign promoting that one signature offer, maybe they get paid 10% of whatever you make from that. Okay. When you bring on a salesperson, right, they're going to be paid 10% per sale if they're doing sales for you over the phone. When you bring on a marketing person who's overlooking your content and everything, come up with a structure where they are paid on their performance. So maybe they have a lower base pay that is $1,000 or $2,000 per month, but then the other is based on a percentage of the profit that you make that month. So one real example is with paid ads. If you hire someone to do your paid ads, you can do a combination of a monthly retainer. So maybe it's $1,000 a month retainer, but then there's a performance fee. So you say, when we make $50,000 this month or $10,000 this month, you are going to get paid this percentage of that profit. So you're going to take the, let's say, $50,000 you made that month, you are going to minus the ad spend. So let's say you spent 10,000 on ads that month. So 50,000 minus 10,000 is $40,000 in profit. But then you're paying that person $1,000 retainer. So minus that. So you're left with 39,000. Then you come up with whatever that percentage is going to be. So if you pay them 10% on that profit, that's $3,900. So they would be making the $3,900 in performance pay plus the $1,000 retainer. So they're making $4,900 a month, but it's based on how much money they have made you. You're not just throwing 6 grand out, okay, without knowing how much profit you made. So ask yourself, how can I structure all of my team on this performance-based pay? Now, you can also think about this when you're hiring a coach and just being very clear that, okay, this coach or this session is going to help me make another 10,000 or $100,000. And these are the 5 things that they're going to help me do. And that's how I'm going to pay them. I'm going to hire this person because they've done it already. They're going to give me the game plan. They're going to meet with me, hold me accountable, and boom, it's worth it. Okay. So that's the team. And that's how you can keep a lean dream team that relieves you. So you're not still working at 80 hours a week, but you can work those 10 hours a week and know that they are working just as hard as you or harder than you because they're based on performance. So the 5th thing that I would have changed is starting with my well-being. So I did a whole TEDx talk about the fact that wealth is an inside job and how I have redefined wealth as wealth, WELLTH. So how can you create wealth in service of your well-being? So what I did right is I started with my well-being. I was doing my webinars. It was like my performance on stage every week. Like it was fun. It was feeding my well-being. I got to be creative. I got to interact with people, but be an introvert and stay at home. It was amazing, right? You could see the change in people live on the webinars. Like that fed my soul, right? So it wasn't until I added all the noise where my well-being got compromised. So ask yourself, what does it look like to prioritize your well-being? What are the non-negotiables? Maybe it's every morning you wake up and you do your meditation, you pray, you eat properly. So maybe part of your budget every month is allocated to meal planning, meal prep, hiring a chef, because it costs a lot less than you think. But you want to ask yourself, or maybe you hire a personal trainer, whatever it is, prioritize your well being and know that the money you are taking home is for you. So you can feed it back into you. Because when you feel fulfilled, you will go the distance and you'll make that million, 10 million, 25 million, and you'll be on the other side of it with your relationships intact, with your health intact, and you'll still feel creative and like a visionary. And then the 6th and final thing is I would have allocated time for what I call lottery tickets. So every time I put a video up on YouTube, it is a lottery ticket because I don't know if it's going to get 1,000 views or 100,000 views. Just like when you do videos on TikTok or Instagram, you put threads out, those are all lottery tickets. And YouTube specifically, as you know, you're here, is the 2nd largest search engine, the 1st largest video search engine, and our content here lives forever. So what I would have changed is after I made my million, I would have started doing YouTube videos on a weekly basis. And they don't have to be complicated. You're sitting here watching me just give you game. And I'm sitting here, in my villa, just got off a flight. I was helping my friend with his book launch. And I'm like, I want to get this message out. So you can do it in a simple way. So I would have started putting YouTube videos up because they're all going to be indexed. They're all going to be searchable. They will be monetized. So then you'll make additional money from ad revenue, but you will now show up in the search results and be indexed as the expert that you are. All right. So with all of that, I hope you are feeling much clearer as you enter this journey of making your first million, your next million, whatever your milestone is. I want to see us win. We have the tools at our fingertips, and we more than ever need to be prioritizing our well-being because these days well-being is a luxury. And I want you to be intentional about it. What I would love to hear in the comments is one big takeaway that you got from this video. What is one thing this shifted your perspective about? And let me know if there are other videos that you would like me to do in the future. And if there's any way that I can support you, I have VIP sessions available, which are one-on-one sessions with me where we can talk through your plan, your milestones. I may have some VIP weekends remaining where you can join me here in Bali and we can create your premium or high ticket $10,000 offer, or we can talk through your business, whatever those goals are, identify your $1,000,000 story, who your $1,000,000 audience is, and how you're going to create that conversion event. And we even create your marketing content together when you come here for that weekend. So I have a couple other things. My Get Paid for Your Gifts guide is a great starter pack to help you identify the type of offer you want to create, whether it's a low, mid, or high ticket, and how to do that. And then I also have my Course from Scratch program that is on demand. And that comes with AI tools that we built specifically for you as you go through Course from Scratch that make it so easy for you to input some information and it'll spit out what's the name of your offer, who is your audience, what's your launch plan, how do you price it, how do you create bonuses for it. So you can check my store below and you can get the Course from Scratch bundle if that's where you are in your journey. All right. So I look forward to seeing your comments below and to helping you just thrive in this season. I'll see you in the next video.